You know when you're scrolling through your feed and you see an influencer and you just pause for a second and think, wait, is that person even real? Well, welcome to the very strange, very fascinating world of digital celebrities. I mean, think about it. They don't sleep, they never go off brand, and they represent this massive new frontier in marketing. It's wild. Okay, let's get into it.
$30 billion. That is how big the influencer marketing industry is projected to be by 2025. This isn't some small niche thing anymore. It's a gigantic market, and brands simply cannot afford to look the other way. And a bigger and bigger slice of that pie is going to influencers who aren't even human.
You know, on paper, virtual influencers, or VIs as they're called, they sound like a brand's ultimate dream. They're available 24/7, they're always perfectly on message, and you have total creative control. But there's a huge disconnect between that promise and the reality. In the real world, audiences often just find them creepy or deceptive, and it can lead to some pretty spectacular public backlash. So that perfect promise, it rarely works out.
And yeah, that brings us to the real question here, the heart of this whole explainer. It's not about if you can make a virtual influencer. It's about how you build one that people actually connect with, instead of one that just weirds them out. We're going to figure this out by following the story of one marketing director who set out to crack this very code. Okay, so meet Natalie. She's the head of digital marketing for a beauty brand that's really starting to take off, and she is staring right at this exact problem. Does her brand take a huge swing and invest in one of these virtual influencers? It could be revolutionary, or it could be an incredibly risky flop. The stakes are just super high. And look, this wasn't just some creative debate they were having. It was a serious financial decision. We're talking about an $80,000 question. Back then, the old way of making a VI was basically just expensive guesswork, you know? Brands were just throwing a ton of money at the problem, hoping something would stick, because there was no playbook, no clear rules for how to succeed.
Seriously, agencies were pitching these development packages that started at over $80,000, and a lot of the time, they came with zero guarantee of results. For a brand like Natalie's, that's a massive gamble to take without any solid principles to guide you.
So before Natalie was going to commit a single cent of her budget, she needed a real answer to this question right here. She couldn't afford to just guess. She needed a framework, a set of actual rules for how to build genuine trust in this digital world. And this is where the story gets really cool. So instead of doing months of focus groups, Natalie used an AI research tool. She brought together this diverse team of AI personas. You had marketers, Gen Z consumers, even AI skeptics in the mix, all for a 26-minute co-creation session. And in less than half an hour, boom, they had their breakthrough.
And here it is. This was the light bulb moment, the core insight that changed everything for them. It turns out audiences aren't really against the idea of a virtual influencer. What they can't stand is being lied to. The problem isn't the technology itself, it's the dishonesty of pretending to be human when you're not.
Okay, so with this insight, a whole new framework for building trust started to take shape. They used something called the Kano model, which is a really clever way to think about customer satisfaction, and they used it to sort all these design principles into 3 different categories. It was an actual blueprint for a trustworthy VI. So let's break it down.
All right, first up, you've got the must-haves. These are the absolute non-negotiable foundations. If you get these wrong, trust is just gone, instantly. That means radical transparency. Always disclosing that it's an AI. Hiding it is the original sin here. It also means you never fake human experiences. An AI can't say this smells amazing because, well, it doesn't have a nose. And of course, explicit partnership disclosure. That's just table stakes for any influencer, human or not.
Next are the performance features. Now you can think of these kind of like a volume dial. The more you turn them up, the more trust you build. This is about giving people real value with data-driven analysis, keeping the persona and the look consistent, and having an honestly digital appearance that avoids that creepy, uncanny valley by just embracing its artificial nature.
And finally, we have the delighters. These are the cool, unexpected features that can turn a skeptic into a real fan. So instead of trying to imitate humans, the VI should use its AI nature as a kind of superpower. It can be hyper-personalized, super responsive, and, this is key, it can become a curator that finds and amplifies real human experiences.
This quote from one of those AI personas they used just nails the whole strategic shift. Don't imitate, curate. Don't try to replace human stories, become the best possible platform for sharing them. It's a total game changer.
So, with this powerful new framework in their hands, Natalie's team got to work. They started creating a totally new kind of virtual influencer, and her name is Luna.
And the difference between the old way and the new way is it's night and day. The old way was all about trying to make a hyper-realistic VI that desperately mimicked humans, hiding what it really was and earning almost no trust. The new way, Luna's way, is about being honestly digital, using those AI superpowers and practicing radical transparency.
So what did that actually look like? Well, Luna's bio is crystal clear. I'm Luna, an AI beauty advisor. Her content is all driven by data, saying things like, based on 2,847 verified reviews. She never ever says, I felt this or I tried that. Instead, she uses her AI superpowers to do things no human could, like creating an ingredient X-ray vision demo. How cool is that? Okay, now for the part I know you've been waiting for, the proof. Did this whole radical new approach actually work? Let's take a look at the pretty stunning, data-backed results that came from building a virtual influencer on a foundation of pure honesty. Just take a look at this chart. The industry average engagement rate is sitting around 34%. Now look at Luna's, 67%. She nearly doubled the industry benchmark, not by pretending to be something she wasn't, but by being proudly and honestly artificial.
And it goes way deeper than just likes and shares. Her audience trust score was a near-perfect 4.8 out of 5. And that trust, that's what drove everything else. A 12.4% purchase conversion rate, a 54% drop in the cost to acquire a customer, and over $400,000 in annual savings compared to their human influencer campaigns. The numbers are just incredible.
But you know, the numbers only tell part of the story. The comments from the audience really say it all. People were actually relieved. They loved having an influencer that wasn't trying to fake a friendship, but was just there to give them useful, data-backed information. In this next comment, this one gets right to the heart of it. This user says they trust Luna more than human influencers, specifically because there's no mystery. That radical transparency wasn't a weakness they had to overcome, it turned out to be her greatest strength. So, the huge takeaway here, summed up perfectly by Natalie herself, is this. The real uncanny valley that brands kept falling into wasn't about visuals that looked almost real. It was about behavior that was dishonestly pretending to be real. It was an authenticity gap, not a graphics problem. And all of this leaves us with a really big, thought-provoking question to end on. We spend so much time and energy trying to make AI imitate us, our intelligence, our creativity, our connections. But what if its most powerful, most valuable, and most trusted feature isn't imitation at all, but a completely new kind of honesty?